Greetings, everyone. This is Rock and Roll Spot Convention with the Weekly Comic Book Roundup. We've made it through, well, almost everything so far. That's to wrap things up with this week's Night Terrors tie-ins. Kicking things off, we've got Night Terrors Angel Breaker, #2. Where we left off, Angel Breaker was one of the few still awake on Earth. She had She had managed to get into a clandestine Cobra cult seminary in Ohio. She knew that most of the world was asleep, except for her 3 Cobra initiates. And her partner in this heist. There was a 4th initiate, but that initiate died, seemingly at the hands of a legend that Zealot had once told Angel Breaker. But Angel Breaker's there to steal the Asclepius drive, which Cobra has stored in one of their labs. So, Angel Breaker and those with her attempt to break into the lab. One of the initiates is killed by what appears to be Lady Eve. But the group splits up. Angel Breaker takes one of the initiates while her partner takes the other. The initiate that goes with Angel Breaker's partner is consumed by Natty Gillo, who initially takes the form of Kali Yuga. The other is manages to get the Asclepius drive. Is about to present it to Velas, the initiate that died in the last issue. But he's prevented from doing so, and Velas reveals herself to actually, and the image of Velas reveals itself to be Natty Gillo. Raptor, that's the name of her partner in this. But the now trio managed to make their way through, with the decision being made to give the initiate, who stated he probably only joined Cobra because he felt he needed someplace to belong, and the voice he thought he heard, maybe he just imagined that because he was so desperate for something different. But he takes the Asclepius drive, being told to deliver to one of the superheroes. But the series ends with Raptor and Angel Breaker passing out, as they're no longer in range of the Asclepius drive, which was keeping them awake. It's a good series. I like that we get some more background on Angel Breaker. She's been an interesting character. It's been introduced in the last year or so. It's nice to get some additional background on her. Moving on to our next book, we've got Night Terrors Detective Comics #2, also wrapping up the miniseries. Where we'd left off, Jim Gordon, during the dream, or in the dream world, had apparently interrupted a ritual by a group known as the Good People, referred to themselves as the Good People of Gotham. This ritual was to summon forth three fifth dimension gods, basically, the Pentapriests, and each one asked a gift of the Pentapriests. Gordon was also one asked for wealth, the wealth to save Gotham. One asked for the power to save Gotham. The other asked for the information to save Gotham. The one who asked for power has become a distorted version of Jim Gordon's mech suit. The one who asked for wealth has been vomiting diamonds. Gordon has just found her, as well as her confession. Also, Sorrow, the young boy that Gordon's been taking care of, was also was killed by the one who desired power. Gordon is apparently as brittle as glass. And so he tapes it. He does tape himself together. Goes back out in search of Mortimer Blake, the one who asked for power, who is destroying police cars as they attack him, making it clear that something like this should have been kind of a standard, and could have ended up being a huge win for, or made for a huge contract throughout the country for Blake's company. But Gordon tries to talk Blake down, and convinces him for a moment that he had Blake's wife and kids with him in the police car that Blake blew up, leading Blake to hit the self-destruct button, further shattering Gordon. But Gordon is given a hint by the Pentapriests as to why he is being shattered. The third participant in the ritual is someone who is of him, Barbara. Gordon goes to the clock tower and finds Barbara holding a watch. Apparently she's been broken in half and is cracking as though made of glass. Barbara explains what happened. Found a clock on the dark web, an interdimensional artifact that grants wishes, gives gifts. Barbara was read enough fairy tales to know that the gifts would be cruel, that they wouldn't be what was truly asked for. But she thought if she only asked for information, well, she'd be okay. Adding that Batman's slowing down. He'll never admit it, but he's finding it so much harder to go out there and do what he does. And Barbara wonders, thought about what would become of Gotham without either Batman or Jim Gordon. But she picks up the timepiece and throws it against the wall, breaking it. And she falls and shatters. The Pentapriests then tell Gordon to wake up, and He does, realizing, oh, he's no longer made of glass, he's whole again. And Sorrow is sleeping soundly in the next room. Gordon calls Barbara, but it goes to voicemail, which, it's the middle of the night. What does he expect? Another time, another place. The clock's similar to the one that Barbara had. It was purchased at a shop called Clocking In. And that is where the series ends. Interesting. The Penta priests do note in there that there's now the question has to be begged: did they exist only because of the dream, or did they always exist? Moving on though to our next book, we've got Night Terror's Harley Quinn #2. Where we left off, Harley's nightmare is discovering she's important to the DCU. And she's been running through a computer simulation that to show what could happen if she's important. Which always goes pretty much sideways. But she comes upon in the Multiversity Guidebook on Earth where it appears she's a founding member of the Justice League as the Harlequin. So we get to see the Harlequin's origin, brilliant gymnast and and neurosurgeon, who was testing her neuroscience theories on herself, struck by lightning, gained powers, flight, super strength, all the usual stuff. She fights Brainiac, but she tries to get away from everything when Ivy finds her. Ivy takes her back home and comforts her, and during this, Harley, while being held by Ivy, says that she's been too much to be a good guy. She's been through too much to be a good guy. However, Ivy is a manifestation of insomnia. Trying to show Harley just how bad things can get. Returning home and finding a salad in the refrigerator with Ivy's work badge on it. Harley tries to smash her fingers in the refrigerator door to wake up. She manages to eventually, but she at least ends up back at the simulation. Drops a hand grenade and blows up the room with the simulation, but ends up before Lady Quark, who tells her that she's never met the threat that Lady Quark thought she was. She adds that, as Lady Quark explains, that Harley is important whether she likes it or not. Her soul is stronger than anyone ever expected. And Harley states that, she didn't, why? She didn't even ask to be. Lady Quark added that, neither did most of them. Perhaps that's why the world needs Harley so. And Harley says that perhaps she's not the hero people deserve, but the one they need right now. And Lady Quark says it's quite beautiful, and asks if Harley wrote it, and after a pause, Harley says yes. And Harley is thus returned to the waking world. Our backup story, which I couldn't even remember how it started, only that it had multiple, only that it involved multiple Harleys engaging in various adventures, well, misadventures. For for an odd MacGuffin. One of the Harleys states to be the last four-dimensional being. The cycle continues, and Cyber Harley ends up back in the past looking at Harley. That is where the miniseries ends. I like the idea of Harley kind of pushing against being important in the greater scheme of DC Comics. Hell, I'd love to see any popular character kind of push against the notion of being important in the grand scheme of things. Some it would work with, others they feel that I don't think it would work as well. For example, I can't imagine Superman pushing against the idea of his importance to the universe, or Batman or Wonder Woman. But Harley, yeah. I do feel in some ways like this was a nice commentary on a comment recently made by DC Comics publisher Jim Lee about how Harley Quinn is DC's most popular character after the trinity of Superman, Wonder Woman, and Batman. Moving on to our next book, though, we've got Night Terror's Titans, #2. Where we left off, the Titans were apparently in the tower, stuck in their nightmares, but apparently together. They've since managed to escape the tower, where it turns out that Raven is somehow still awake and keeping them together. Except there's a fifth among them. But they all talk about what they went through. Beast Boy, Cyborg, Donna, Starfire. And presently, the Titans are outside dealing with swarms of enemies who also seem to be wearing orange jumpsuits. When the attack is done, the mystery fifth Titan noticed that all the bodies of the various enemies they've been fighting, all their jumpsuits all say inmates, with Raven pointing out that Titan's Tower was once a prison. Bloodhaven Private Prison. Built by avarice, run for profit. Imprisoning people long past what justice required for the money it would earn, turning criminals into monsters. The Titans turned into a beacon of hope. But apparently, yes, Raven is awake and basically keeping the dreaming Titans together. The fifth Titan, the fifth member of the group, however, is revealed to be none other than the tower itself. Raven explains how this is entirely possible. That she's the part of the tower that represents hope, the potential of the future. The part that started to bloom when the tower was rebuilt. The part that the Nightmare wanted to suppress. And so, while the rest of the Titans deal with monstrous nightmare versions of themselves. Raven has finally become exhausted and fallen asleep as well, becoming an amalgamation of herself and Trigon. Or facing her nightmare version being an amalgamation of herself and Trigon. But the tower manages to rip through layers, finding a woman being electrocuted, simply saying all that I am over and over again. The tower talks to this woman. Said there's her. And manages to stop her. Basically, kind of say, hey, we can, the pain, change hurts, but the pain will pass. After that, well, they deserve to know what comes next. The Titans wake up within the tower, and Raven briefly through her empathic abilities, touches the tower, and the tower's name is Joanne. She likes the name Joanne. And so, the Titans fly off to do what they can to help with stop the worldwide nightmare. That is where the series ends. It's an interesting book. I have to say the concept of the mystery member being the tower, basically a manifestation of the tower, was highly unexpected. I'm here for it though. It was well done, and it makes sense. The idea of there's an idea frequently utilized in horror fiction of such evil happening in a place that it imprints upon the place, basically giving the place a malevolent spirit. And so, turning something as horrid as Bloodhaven as a private prison that was basically run just for that was horrible for the sake of making money, and turning that place into Titan's Tower, place of hope. Yeah, it makes sense. Basically, so the entire series is basically a battle for the soul of the tower, which I think that's kind of neat. I hope that that's something that gets kept along as the New Titans book continues. Moving on to our last book for the week, we have Night Terrors #4. Technically, this would be the last issue of the miniseries. However, there is still the Night's End one-shot that I guess is coming next week, which truly wraps everything up. So where we left off, Robin, the Deadman possessed Batman, and the Golden Age Sandman had made it to Arkham Tower. Batman and Robin had managed to retrieve the Nightmare Stone, and so they go into the tower together as that's where Insomnia's body is. They make their way up the stairs. Robin briefly falls asleep and a nightmare version of, and Insomnia tries to convince Robin to turn back, but Robin realizes it's a lie. An image of Dawn Granger shows up before Deadman, saying she's scared and that if everyone's dead, then they'll both be ghosts, and well, her and Boston could be together. But Deadman pushes away the vision, saying that he wants that more than he ever admit. But they find Insomnia. Deadman, holding the Nightmare Stone, goes into him to learn who he is, and we get his past. Gotham. He was apparently him and his family were Justice League fans. Comes home. He goes home from work one day, and his 3 kids come to greet him, and he says that apparently the Justice League are dealing with some kind of disaster down the street, fighting a monster. They said we need to evacuate, but, well, it was illegal to save the day. There's an explosion. He survives, but his family doesn't. But taking the Nightmare Stone into Insomnia's nightmares is kind of exactly what Insomnia wanted. He forms one of his hands into a sharp taloned claw and cuts his throat, dying in the real world, unleashing the power of the Nightmare Stone. Waking up the rest of the world. Batman, now awake, sore as hell from Deadman having been in his body. He looks outside of Gotham and realizes he must still be in the nightmare, but Damian states that it's the real world, and they lost. But Damian further explained that Deadman thought that they could use the stone to stop Insomnia's power and wake everyone up. But that was what Insomnia wanted. It was never about just the Nightmare Stone. He wanted the nightmares to be real. Outside the Hall of Justice, Deadman and Sandman are suspended with nightmare energy as Insomnia summons forth the nightmares to come play and show the world what they really are. Among those we see at the end are the Super Reaper, as well as the Nightmare's demigoddess Wonder Woman, and the gun-headed Man-Bat. And this will wrap up in Night Terror's Night's End, because, well, you can't just have a 1 through 4 miniseries. No. You gotta have 1 through 4 and Alpha before that and Omega after that. Either way, though, it was a good book, good issue. I like the fact that because it seemed like the whole thing was we gotta find the Nightmare Stones to reverse this, but yeah, neat stuff. I'm looking forward to seeing how the whole thing wraps up. Anyways, that's going to do it for now. As always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Big shout out to Patreon patron Xander Lee. Thank you so much for your support. Links to my Facebook, Twitter, Mastodon, Patreon, and PayPal can be found in the description box down below. This is Rock and Roll Spock signing off saying, live long and rock hard.